There we go. Oh, sorry. I had to go get some water. I realised I was like, oh, I'm going to be late. Hello. Let me just move this a little closer just to be sure. Hello. My name is Fiona. I use she, her pronouns, and this is something. This is Too Long Didn't Read Tabletop RPGs, in which it is an accountability stream, in which where we read an RPG that's caught my eye over the last God knows how long, either in the wonderful bookcase of doom. Oh, good start here. Or the RPG drive of terror. And we look at it and we see like what we like about it, or if anything we can improve, and anything in terms of accessibility. Oh, we've got the wailing lady on, haven't we? I better just. I do like this soundtrack I've got, but I'm gonna change it over to. The Strixhaven one, because the Strixhaven one has some nicer things. Hello, Kieran. How are you doing, my friend? How are you doing? There we go. Got the nice floaty book one. There we go. How are you doing, my friend? All well with you? Happy Friday, obviously. It's very. I hear in the UK the weather is not very good just now. It is absolutely balmy here. It's a nice 24 degrees, and it was shining out. What I do every morning to go for my daily constitutional, I walk around, and my God, it was so nice out. I was like, oh, I understand why I've moved here now. Moved away from the bad weather. Right. Okay, chaps and chapesses and those who have yet to decide, welcome to this stream. We are today looking at something called the Dee Sanction, Adventures in Magic and Politics across Supernatural Tudor Europe. Oh, hello, the bad start. How are you doing, Matt? How are you doing? Sorry, I choked on my own water there. How are you doing, my friend? Yeah, it's been a little while, and congrats at the UK Games Expo stuff. I had a quick peek of your review of it and stuff like that. I'm glad you had a good time. Good turnout as well. Greetings, I've come to take part of your wisdom. Oh, hello. How are you doing, Phoenix Fem? Nice to have you here. Or silliness, both in equal measure. It depends on which day you catch me. All is well. Enjoying the bad weather and preparing for a game this evening. Oh, excellent, Kieran. What game are you playing? No worries, Passport. I am glad you had a good time, because UK Games Expo, so it's again, last year when I ran my Alien stuff, I really enjoyed it, but good God, I was knackered by the end of it. Thunderstorms here. Oh, I love a good thunderstorm. Oh, I had here, like, all we get here is tornado warnings. And I'm like, thunderstorm? No thunderstorms. But, well, I hope you're safe regardless. Yeah, well, thank you. And again, just for people who've just come in, this is Too Long Didn't Read Tabletop RPGs, in which we read an RPG for leisure, for accountability, and a way for me to speak aloud and learn about stuff, about different games and stuff. That's just always good. And today on the docket, actually, the random number generator is the Dee Sanction. As I said, it's a sort of historical RPG in Tudor Europe, which is exciting. This evening's game will be the final session of Gothic Society. Ah, yes, the hack that you've been doing of Good Society. How exciting. Well, best of luck. I hope it goes really well. So yeah, I will say right at the top of this, I'll be honest, I am not one for historical RPGs necessarily. This is technically a supernatural historical RPG, but again, it's that sort of thing which doesn't really catch my vibe. I'm not one of those people, unfortunately. Like, the most I've got to is like The Between, and the reason we like The Between is because it's Penny Dreadfuls. We love that sort of gothic set. Whereas this, I'm like, I'm not too sure, but it has won some awards in the past. I don't know much about it other than that. The artwork looks great for it. So yeah, so we're going to dive in and have a look for an hour or two and see where we get to. I was at the top of this. Disclaimers. I am not a game designer, shockingly. Maybe one day. But as a result, take all my sort of critiques and thoughts with a pinch of salt, because they might not be right. And again, we're looking at the core book today, I should say. I know there's been a couple of expansions as well, so maybe those things are going to be answered in the expansions as well. I've not played this game, but I do think you get a lot out of reading RPGs as well as playtesting them. So again, all that sort of thing with a bit of salt. The mention of the Between klaxon. I should have like a button that goes, play the Between. Absolutely. I mean, if Jason Cordova could get like a dollar every time someone says the Between, I'm sure they'd be a very rich person as a result, because it's such a good game. So yeah, so does that. So I'm not a game designer, so take all I say with a pinch of salt. I usually talk about like a little bit of accessibility from the PDF point of view. Again, I'm not an accessibility expert. It's just, again, some thoughts I would get as reading it off the PDF sort of thing. What else is there? Not sponsored by the designer behind the Dee Sanction. I wish I was, but again, not I'm trying not to be biased anyway. This is sort of me going in sort of fresh. Again, not read it before. And also, content warnings. It says supernatural Tudor Europe. Again, who knows what that means? But yeah, at any point, if you're like, I need to take a break from the stream because there's this content therein, do take out time to take a step back and do so. I just absolutely fine and join us when you can. I've got a home game coming up soon, so just saying. Well, there you go. Yes. I mean, you played a lot of the Between. I only played like a 2-shot. I'm like, God, more people need to talk about how good that game is. Interestingly enough, actually. Sorry, we will get to the whole point of the stream in a second. I got the playtest for the new upcoming Tomb Raider RPG that's coming out. I was having a quick look through it, and guess what it's inspired by? Bits of the Between. It basically is powered by the Apocalypse system, but it's got references quite a lot of other powered by the Apocalypse games, which I thought was quite interesting. And also had a nice bit at the beginning talking about like, hey, maybe we shouldn't be glorifying tomb raiding itself, which is quite. I didn't expect that, but yeah. So I'm interested to read through it at some point. But it is nearly 200 pages. No, not 200 pages. It's 300 pages of stuff, and they want feedback by the beginning of July, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to get that. The only time I played the Between, it was quite wonderful. I played Victorian Dominatrix for the first time. I can't help but make everything about the Between. Sorry for derailing. Never be sorry. I derail myself. Do not worry. But yes, like maybe I should just make every stream I do like just an advert for the Between. Right. Okay. Let's get away from Big Fiona Cam. We're going to go over to the game scene, which is a small Fiona Cam. So this is what it looks like on the website. They've got their own very nice website. I'll put it in the chat again so people can follow along as it were. Again, so the Dee Sanction. Adventures in magic and politics across supernatural Tudor Europe. Again, like I said, it looks incredibly nice. It looks very different than other RPGs out there. So, like again, it's sort of eye-catching from that sort of front. Here, what I quite like about this website is that again, you could get the book, where to buy the PDF, and some merch. We'll have to look at merch, obviously, and then quick characters, and presumably a quick character generation thing, character sheet, third-party license. So. Everything's all up here. Twit. Presumably it goes to the Twitter there as well. So let's have a quick look. So you can buy the PDF. It says on DriveThruRPG. Oh, gosh. This is where I did not do all the things I was meant to do. I'm just going to go to the fit page here. That makes it a little bit easier. You can tell. Just guess who bought it. It was me. You can get it in a bundle, which is quite exciting. She says, trying to... see, this is because I've moved screens around. So I'll tell you what. Why don't I just... do it like that, and then no, that's that's all the adverts there. Whoops. Let's try this again, shall we? This is this absolute carnage. There we go. Getting back to it. Put it on here. Sanctum. There we go. Right. Let's try again, shall we? So buy the PDF. Takes you to DriveThruRPG in its terrible sort of way of not being optimized at all, but there we go. Move down. There we go. It's all worked out, guys. I've done it. There we go. So, the Dee Sanction is an award-winning tabletop role-playing game about serving the Queen and country in the late Tudor period. While kingdoms vie for power and the church splinters under the pressure of reform, folklorish creatures emerge from enforced hiding, seeking revenge against those who have imprisoned them. So almost like a twist. Again, Vaesen is the other game that comes to mind thinking about that idea of like folklore and that idea of transformation stuff. Hatchling Games, hello, howdy Fiona, how are you doing? Well, so nice to have you here, Rich. Nice to see you, my friend. How are you doing? Busy times in RPG world, I'm guessing. But I hope you're doing well, friend. Nice to see you. As magic and creatures of the supernatural infiltrated throughout the land, Queen Elizabeth passed an Act Against Conjurations, Enchantments and Witchcrafts in 1563, making the punishment for acts of magic severe. In 1564, John Dee and Francis Walsingham convinced the Queen to pass an amendment to the Act, the Dee Sanction, permitting the practice of magic in defense of the realm. You are an agent of Dee, Not out of a choice, but out of some twisted sense of self-preservation. Somewhere between between conscription and penance, you work for the Walsingham and Dee to make amends, and with a faint hope that you can use your talents to earn your pardon and absolution. Ooh, interesting. You can see the light at the end of a tunnel. If only you could outrun the shadows of your past and the horrors of the present. It is a self-contained role-playing game based on the multi-genre Sanction system. Roughly about 70 pages. We have a character generation system, including random agent creation. Ooh, random. Tradecraft system to levy contacts, magic, and special equipment. A short Tudor history, hooray. A timeline of brief events. I mean, to be fair, historical accuracy makes sense for this sort of game. Sometimes you see it with like Good Society, as we mentioned earlier, or The Between, but like, hey, how accurate do you want to be in these games? And sometimes you can be like, oh, we're okay to get the rules wrong a little bit, or they get the facts wrong a little bit, or it's like, we must stop. We must look up every single detail to make sure it's historically accurate. A simple self-contained system for handling threats, hazards, and consequences with an approach that always pushes onward. And then a bestiary of supernatural and common enemies, plus an introductory adventure lost in translation. There you go. So yeah, like I said, there's quite a few bits and pieces. Let's see what else. I want to see what merch we can get, because merch is always fun. So from Old Rolled Up, we can get obviously updated PDFs. Ooh, we get some nice maps. Is that a mini messenger bag? Oh, hello. Yes, please. Well, let's have a look at the mini messenger bag. Ooh. I mean, I'm not sure, but I'm always a big like. What else? What could be inside? Oh, so many books that you can hold. And look, a little rolled up mat as well. You could do it. Oh, so you can get that. That's quite exciting. You can get a little folding dice tray. Amanda Panda, hello. I'm going to go to sleep soon, but I wanted to lurk whilst I snoozed. Oh, well, thank you for lurking. Very much appreciated. Glad to have you here. And then we've got some more rolled up dice trays. I mean, to be fair, All Rolled Up does specialise in the custom dice tray, so it makes sense here. Smash it back there. That's massive, that bag. Sorry, I'm getting absolutely distracted now, but that also quite a nice bag as well. But again, it'd have to be a game that you really enjoyed, I guess. Little tote bag. Oh, of course, face mask, always good. Got some bookmarks. Someone's heard me. Someone knows that I really like bookmarks. I love that soft cover, though, of the Sanctum there. When it decides to load up. So this must be the core rules. Ah, yes, so this is where you get the actual rule system. Put it on there. Universal rules for challenge-driven games. That looks great, though. I like that. Interesting. Maybe we should have looked at that rather than the Dee Sanction. Anyway. Alright, so yeah, quite a lot of interest. Oh, there's a coin as well. Damn. Alright. Merch, I'm in. We also have this one, which was like a... Oh, I guess this is the... Interesting. Like a... Is this a character creation thing we can make? Ah, yeah, they got some character creation stuff here. It's quite exciting. 1 per day. Interesting. Oh, so you can always go through it. I'm also a fan of bookmarks as merch. Yeah, no, you know what? That reminds me of a story. Let me actually get back to this so people can have a look. So, obviously, I run a book club podcast with the DM's Book Club, and one of the things I give out at conventions and stuff is a bookmark which has a QR code, and it's different to a business card, and people can. The thing is that I always joke about like, oh, you should. I could guarantee you 100% success rate on marking your books, because people always use paper, and it's always a way to connect with people and be like, what's your favourite book you're reading just now? You might need a bookmark for it. If you're interested, all that sort of thing. And I tried to give a bookmark out to a gentleman at MCM in October, and he said, oh, no, thank you. And I said, oh, do you not read books? Haha. And he goes, no, I only listen to audiobooks. And it was just like the weirdest conversation, because I always think you need a bookmark, even if it's just like, you put it to one side or you throw it away afterwards, etc. But it just made me laugh so much. He refused to take my bookmark because he only listens to audiobooks, and it would be a waste. And I was like, you pick up so much trash from MCM anyway. So I was like, it made me laugh. And that coin is very appealing, even though I don't know yet whether I'm interested in the game. Yeah, exactly. I always think if you've got good merch, especially if it's merch that you can use in the game or for props. She says, looking at her own desk filled with minis just now that I need to look at. Anyway, so I'm always like, oh, interested there. So yes, we've got the... Oh, wait, no, that wasn't a pre-generated... Yeah, there you go, pre-generated characters. got pre-generated character set. Okay, we've got access to that. And then the actual Twitter page itself. All good. All right, so there's a lot of stuff. So again, lots of stuff to find out about the Dee Sanction if there's something you wish. So it's always good. And yeah, interesting. All right, let's me move back. I want to see if there's anything else on here. So yeah, the third-party license is always quite exciting to see as well. Presumably that's because of the Sanctum rules. So we'll just head on. Yeah, I think we'll just head on into the actual game itself, shall we? She says try to find a way to turn off Chrome. There we go. So yeah, so we're looking at the core rules today. And it is 70 pages long, which is a good size. And we know that there is an adventure in it as well, so we won't look at the adventure per se. Dee Sanctum core rules. Adventure in, now I'm going to get this word wrong, aren't I? Covert, and then Enochian intelligence. I know it's going to be a historical period, and I know I'm going to got that wrong. By Paul Baldowski. Hello, I'm late. What are we looking at? Hello, Liz Campbell. Hope you're doing well, my friend. Yeah, we're looking at a actually, maybe you'd be interested in this. A supernatural Tudor RPG called the Dee Sanctum. You're not late at all. We're just in time. We're just looking at the merch earlier, as you know. We're big merch fans here. All right, so content. I'm gonna zoom. Oh, is my mouse gonna work? Nope. So we've got Sanctum of Magic, Dee and Walsingham, and True Believers. What is the Dee Sanctum? Always good. A short Tudor history. Thankfully, I can already see that's only 2 pages. Thank goodness. Whew. Becoming Agents of Dee, the free resources, a sample character, backstory. So it looks like there's lots of little chapters, but that's quite good. So again, I always am a big fan of breaking things down into small chapters. While sometimes you're like, oh yeah, 5 chapters, excellent. But actually, sometimes they're really long. Breaking it down to sort of like what looks like, well, a lot of it here is we've got Lost in Translation, which goes, so we go up to page 45, and those are the main rules. Then we've got Lost in Translation, and then all these appendices. Actually, not too bad at all, which is quite exciting. Yeah. All right, well, let's head straight into it. Supernatural Tudor sounds excellent. Well, it should be different. Again, I was saying before, I'm not a big fan. Oh, it's 2 columns. I'm not a big fan of like historical stuff. But yeah. Oh, I had to look it up, but Enochian is a language which was found in John Dee's journals, which he claimed was revealed to him by angels. Ooh, I like that fact. Is that how you pronounce it, Kieran? If you could put like, if you're able to, don't worry if not. If you're able to put like the phonetic spelling of it, I can have a go. I think that's how you say it, but I am very aware my pronunciations are not the best. Ooh, yeah, very cool. All right, so. Excuse me, my voice is already acting up. We haven't even started. Okay, so the Sanctum of Magic. When Elizabeth Tudor succeeded to the throne in 1558, she found herself under assault from all sides, challenged by the legacy of her father's actions. Henry VIII severed ties with the Church of Rome. He had made himself an enemy of Catholicism. Later, Elizabeth's half-sister Mary sought to undo their father's work. Amid widespread religious reform, upheaval in the palaces and pastures of Europe, and the spread of the written word of Protestant belief, God grew distant. I assume it's from Enoch, like the Bible, like the Bible now. Enochian, I believe is pronunciation. Thank you, Phoenix Femme. Enochian. At least that's what I can recall Patrick Stewart saying the word. Well, hey, if Patrick Stewart is the way forward, that's fine. I think Enoch, I think I'm thinking of the actor Alfred Enoch. So Enochian, I think you're absolutely right, Phoenix Femme. Thank you so much for that. So God grew distant. The barrier created by a wall of blind faith maintained over centuries by the church's strength wavered. The wider population saw the resurgence of bugs and the fae as byproducts of the malefic acts enacted by opposing sides of Catholics, and Protestants. Resurgence of bugs. Oh. In 1563, the Queen passed an Act Against Conjurations, Enchantments and Witchcrafts that made magic use to kill another. Capital offence, triggered in no small part by a Catholic plot to assassinate the Queen through sorcery 2 years earlier. It also made a felony of the use of magic to maim, consort with evil spirits, provoke love, or seek buried treasure. Patrick is the authority. I mean, I'm sure all of you guys in this chat will have seen the Patrick Stewart's masterclass in the double, triple, and quadruple take. One of the funniest YouTube videos I've ever seen with Patrick Stewart. May have imbibed something. I don't wish to assume stuff, but he teaches his partner the essence of how to do a double, triple, and quadruple take, and it is one of the best videos of all times. I highly recommend checking it out afterwards. So in 1564, the Queen passed an amendment to the Act on her most trusted advisor's advice. The Dee Sanction permitted the practice of magic in defense or for the beneficiary of the realm. And it created a loophole through which convicted traitors might use their heretical knowledge to work a penance in service to Her Majesty. Okay, I get the vibe of this now. I get the set of it. That could be quite interesting, couldn't it? Yes, that's correct. Dee claimed that until himself, Enoch was the last human to speak it. The sanctum fell under the jurisdiction of both Francis Walsingham, the master of the Queen's spy network in Europe, and Dr. John Dee, astrologer, alchemicalist, and companion, in the words of the Queen. They recruited the fortunate malefactors rescued from execution as agents bound to a covert intelligence service. The Dee Sanctum offered the first line of defense against inimical forces, both common and supernatural. And then so Dee and Walsingham. So in 1535, a bed in the dorm of a Chelmsford school, a boy woke from a nightmare. In his tormented sleep, he had found himself lost, alone, abandoned of hope, and suffocating by a cloying dark. He had felt pursued, a prey to an unseen hunter. When the beast's hot breath brushed his neck, a light had flared. A halo of flame surrounded a severed hand, fingers oddly pointed. The middle finger, painted and bloodless, the little finger blackened as if burnt, the thumb slick with gore. Come the light of day, the boy didn't speak. He hardly ate for 3 days until, while studying, elucid, I guess, he recovered his senses. The complexity of the vision haunted him. With absolute certainty, the boy knew this terror guarded hidden secrets. John Dee vowed to decipher its mystery. Whilst they were both utterly loyal supporters and companions to the Queen, John Dee and Francis Walsingham are poles apart in their outlook and upbringing. Oh, how exciting! Dee had always questioned the order of the universe and the entities within it, right from his earliest years. He suffered terrible visions and heard voices in his youth. In learning, he sought to challenge everything, seeking patterns and truths amid chaos. We get presumably a picture of good old Dr. John Dee. He studied language, philosophy, geography, He studied language, philosophy, geography, geometry, astronomy, and most important of all, mathematics. Boo. He allowed his visions and wild theories to guide him, using maths to lend the universe structure. In these moments, he uncovered his own interconnectedness with Princess Elizabeth's fate, a connection which she implicitly trusted. Walsingham was son to William Walsingham, lesser gentry and barrister of repute. Francis gravitated to the study of law too. As a Protestant, he spent 5 years in Europe during the reign of Queen Mary. Yes, you guys can still see this. That's okay. I wanted to double check. He had an idea for detail and preternatural sense of personality and people. Don't we all? A diplomat at first, then Member of Parliament, he found his way into intelligence via William Cecil. He was insightful and level-headed, prepared to make his point no matter the cost. His attitude might have seemed paranoid to some. Still, Walsingham's perceptiveness remarkable recollection and incredible insight allowed him to second-guess the Queen's enemies time and again. In a time of favourites, patronage and pride, both Walsingham and Dee's connection to the Queen remained constant, even though their sway wavered. For their part, they would serve her in ways beyond the others' ken within the court, and in the face of a continent dominated by Catholicism and populace afeared of heresy and the corruption of the unknown, the Dee Sanctum may be the only hope. Kieran says, normally pronounced you like you, but it's centuries old name. So who's to say? I see. Ulid. Ulid. I don't know. Sorry. Ulid. I don't know. Was a geometer, as in elucidum space. I became slightly excited seeing the name, as Dee was an astronomer who would have probably known the work intimately. Yes. Well, I will say, like, again, to start off, I know it's just doing like a little bit of historical text stuff. Obviously, this seems fairly accurate, although sort of very truncated as well. What I do quite like is that the important people's names, the NPCs, they have their highlighted names. There's like Walsingham, Queen Mary, etc., William and Cecil. So these are probably people that would come up time and time and again in your playthrough of the game. The true believers. Whilst magic holds no sway in our contemporary times, the Elizabethan world absolutely believed. Throughout Elizabeth's reign, and by no means confined to that period, personalities in and about the court and country pursued various studies in the art of magic, most for advancing their personal ends and fortunes. The Queen provided support and patronage to those asserting knowledge of the hermetic and scientific law's bleeding edge. She voiced her desire to learn the ways of alchemy herself, assuming that any claimant could provide a grasp of the secret techniques themselves. The nation's coffers were empty, debts were growing progressively throughout the Queen's reign, so the possibility of turning base metals into gold held a singular allure. Respected scholars defended unshakable beliefs in esoteric principles of geometry and maths, angels and demons, relics and artifacts. At the same time, they pursued studies of the sciences, emulating and expanding on the past great minds' theories and practices. To the informed modern audiences, the beliefs of Elizabethan scholars might seem ridiculous. However, while playing the Dee Sanctum, those gathered around the table need to set preconceptions aside. Whilst witches may burn and suffer grave tortures, great courts of Europe embrace matters both magical and spiritual as a means to an end. The 1564 amendment to the Act of Parliament intended to deal with the threat of witches and magic. Only in the pursuit of safety of the realm was consorting with spirits and magic use acceptable. Matters of magic run a tightrope fraught with peril and potential. Interesting. Yeah, and what I do quite like is that, again, it's like a little mini essay. I will say, this is the Fiona thing. Cannot abide 2 columns, like, because obviously when you're reading it aloud, like secret techniques, not technology, and also like as someone who's terrible at pronouncing things anyway, it's like you're constantly like having to read ahead, but it's fine. It's one of those things we just have to learn. But I do quite like how it, like, here it says like, hey, here are the vibes of what the setting is. There's some things that you're gonna be like, that's ridiculous. We can't burn witches. Then they're actual people. But here it's like, okay, this is the world. This is what we believe. Because again, imagine like our world to them would be just absolutely mind blowing, so to speak. So yeah, I like how it's just done it like as a here are some general vibes. Here's some sort of not tropes, but things you need to know about the period. You got to put your own beliefs, your own sort of preconceptions, it says here, aside whilst playing the game, which I quite appreciate that. Oh, and then we've got a brief John Dee timeline. Amazing. We won't read that. Interesting though. Again, little bits of like safety lies in fear. So, must be. Oh, I see. Okay, I'll read a bit of it out. Why not? So, here in the 1530s, safety lies in fear. So the Halley's Comet heralds the rise in supernatural threats and intolerance of the old ways. And then here in the 1560s, all along the watchtowers, Dee advocates magical defenses to the Queen in the face of rising threat. Empires under siege. Pope Pius, Pius? Yep, Pope Pius V excommunicates Queen Elizabeth and declares open season on her demise at the hand of any loyal Catholic. Walsingham's covert activities branch from those of Cecil. The Suit of Angels in the 1580s. Dee takes his experiments abroad with his squire Edward Kelly. Francis Drake circumnavigates the world, and Mortlake is sacked in Dee's absence. So it's quite nice to have like a whole timeline per se here. Ooh, the overlap of science, faith, and philosophy is quite stronger, especially in pre-Enlightenment era times. Absolutely. And even faith-based circles had quite a strong currents of thought building from the philosophy of the time. Our times are not that different despite appearing as such. Absolutely. I guess because obviously with the rise of technology and the way that we can gain information faster or spread information faster and misinformation faster as well. And maybe the focus has shifted a little bit, but agreed. It's very interesting, isn't it? Like I always do think like it comes back to that whole discussion in a way. Again, maybe it's just me sort of rambling off and derailing stuff. That when people go, I don't want politics in my games. But games can be very political. I have really exciting stories here. Here is a very political game. And it has, as you said, religion, philosophy, science, all overlapping. And it actually is quite interesting as a result. So, yeah. But what is the Dee Sanction? We've done all this context. Let's do what it is. It is a traditional role-playing game, or RPG, loosely based on historical facts and personalities. In an RPG, friends narrate stories together. Oh, I like that. That's quite nice. Nice way of putting it. As a player, you act the part of a specific player character or PC, an agent of Dee. Absolutely, you're called agents. I'm not calling you player characters in the story. As a game moderator, rubbish name. Why can't you be like the Dee moderator? I am the Dee Sanction. You set the scene, lead the tale, and play the part of non-player characters or NPCs, or maybe, I don't know, the Fae. And you keep order using the rules therein. Herein, sorry. The Dee Sanction core rules offers you a set of simple mechanics to run intriguing investigations and missions set against a backdrop of almost historical Europe. Stories play to the feel and sense of history rather than clinging to every detail. Remember, the game should be entertaining for everyone. In this version of history, magic exists, and with it, the possibility that angels talk to those who understand them. However, technology and medicine still resides in the realms of wooden block printing presses and seeking a balance of the elemental humans. Game Magicians of Chaos, which unfortunately sounds like a Yu-Gi-Oh card. I appreciate this might be your first time here, Phoenix, maybe watching streams, but my big thing is that if I see a cool title for a game master, that is half the battle. I want to be called the Master of Ceremonies. I want to be called the Keeper, and I think like players should have really cool names and stuff. But I absolutely think Game Master of Chaos. I'll take the Yu-Gi-Oh card reference. I'll be like, ha! You've activated my trap card. I like it. I'm gonna take it. Thank you so much. I think there's just something about it where it's like, okay, yes, I think silly titles and stuff like that. Yeah, it's silly, but then it gives you something rather than Game Master. I'm like, yeah, I get it. Game Master is a general term, and Dungeon Master, all that sort of thing. But what was the fun one we had the other day? Like Storyteller and Fate Weaver are all good fun as well. But there was one the other day which I was like, that's what I want to be when I grow up. Alright, so the players are agents working under the is that auspicious of the Dee Sanction to avert supernatural and magical threats. Agents are ordinary people with tainted history, offered a chance to stay their execution and right past wrongs. When an agent does something threatening to their lives or progress, player rolls a die to determine the outcome. I come up with names for different streams when I want a cooler GM name. Worldcrafter and Shadow Weaver have been my favourites. Ooh, those are great. I like that. Angel Wrangler. Or like Agent Wrangler. Just like, come on, just go and find the thing. Angel Wrangler. I like that. Or maybe like what's it? How do you pronounce it again? Enochian. Yeah, maybe Enochian intelligence officer or something like that. I don't know. get everyone to have bad pronunciations of things. So the GM prepares and presents the hook of the story. They detail the settings, the supporting characters, and the challenges. They fill in the sensory detail and answer questions that might be reasonably asked. The GM listens. Oh yeah, you guys can still say. The GM listens and works with the players to create an exciting story. The GM is not out to win, but to maintain order and entertain. Ooh, special terms. The Dee Sanction includes many specific game terms, with clearly no terms for the player or the GM, they may be unfamiliar with. The glossary of terms later on should help clarify and understanding. Great. I'm always a big fan of games that have glossary terms, especially ones that obviously have a certain context or setting, which is, I think I said this before, I always keep saying this. Sometimes when you play like a genre like sci-fi, people get really worried about, I don't know all the technology, like the words and stuff like that. So long as you commit to something and make the word happen and give it meaning and don't undermine it, then it makes all the difference. And that's what makes really good sci-fi improv, is like they're full of acronyms and like not acronyms. That's not the word. Bloody hell. Yeah, no. Never mind. Yeah, I'm going off track completely here, but I love good terms. Then it feels like you're embedded in the story. You feel immersed as a result. That's what I was going at. Anyway, sorry. Back to the actual game. What it isn't about. Oh, fantastic. Hysterical. I'm hysterical. Historical pedantry. The Dee Sanctum isn't about pedantry or the historical purism. Play to the themes and the feel, like a TV serial or a film based on the period that adds based on true events, rather than sweating the small stuff. The game takes place in an alternative Europe. This version takes its cues from history, and it then mixes in supernatural elements, real magic, skewed conflicts, and other fabricated events. Your table has the means to control the setting and adjust the mix, tweaking the balance of history and fiction. Fun and entertainment should be paramount, but not a competition or exam over who knows the most facts about the Tudor court. Yeah, again, I go back to improv in this. There was nothing worse than seeing two usually white cis men trying to outdo each other when the suggestion is Star Trek on stage. My god, it is awful. It's also whatever you're not into. The point of the game isn't to be anything you're not into. If you don't fancy politics, Byzantine as they are, then run adventures away from the courts. Agents will find their lives manipulated by politics, but they need not live in the thick of it. I think that's quite fair. If you're used to dungeon crawls, there are plenty of ruins riddled with relics and befouled with spirits. If you fancy investigations, take the sleuth's path and seek a hidden truth or solve crimes. As a GM, tie your adventures back to the game theme, but don't feel like an RPG set in Tudor times needs to be some grey and dismal simulation. The Dee Sanctum is a setting where the occult agenda presents a clear and present danger to the throne. The hard swerve from recorded history means that you do not need to tie yourself in knots, keeping to strict continuity. Nods and notes to continuity will work without labouring to overhearance canonical events. Nice. I feel reassured by that, having something like that. Anachronism? No, I'm not thinking anachronism. It probably has I'm thinking of... Oh, it's going to come to me now. No. I'm thinking of, when it's like... I'm going to look this up now. It's going to absolutely kill me when I'm not going to get it right. You guys. Acronym. There we go. Not massively interesting. It comes from the prefix ana against added to chronos, which is time. Ah, okay, acronym. Yes. Yeah. No. As I said, acronym is what I was thinking of. Yeah. I do say acronym a lot more, so I don't know why. Oh dear. Anyway. Crisis averted, everyone. Don't worry. I've switched my brain back to UK English. Okay, game preparation. So you'll need a few essentials to play the game. Nothing too hard to get hold of, and with a few options to improvise. Firstly, you need to have someone else to play with. One or more other people will do. The players take on the role of an agent in the Dee Sanctum. Simultaneously, the GM leads the tale and sets the scene, plays supporting characters, and keeps order with the rules provided and a little common sense. The whole group, the table, should work to make the game entertaining for everyone. That means sharing the load of pushing the story forward, recording events, recalling them at the start of each session, playing fair, and bringing snacks to share. This was not made in COVID times, but I 100%, I'm always a big fan of bring snacks, for sure. Don't leave it on the GM. I think as a GM, and this maybe is a controversial, but if you have the luxury of playing in person, the GM can to bring the game and stuff like that. But everything else, all the players should do. So like, if another player is hosting, make sure everyone's got pens and pencils and papers, all that sort of thing. Any additional things like dice, all that sort of thing. Everyone brings food. And make sure that there's a little bowl or a little plate for the GM on their side. So usually there's a GM screen. There's a barrier for the GM to be like, do the snake hand thing of like, ooh, a Pringle. Always give them a little maybe charcuterie board of sweetmeats. And then when there's a big scene happening between players, when GMs often sit back and get to watch players roleplay, that's the time where they can bring out their little popcorn and eat. Second, you're going to need some gaming essentials, something to write on and with, and as well as a set of dice. And in case you don't know what dice look like, here we go. That's only 5 of the polyhedral dice. The sort of dice you need is most of a set of a polyhedral set. That's a dice with 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12 sides. And then again, if you're new here, obviously a D equals a die, and then obviously the number with it is like, say for example, 2d6 means like 2 6-sided dice that you're going to roll. Excellent. If you don't have those kinds of dice, though, a pack of playing cards with jokers will do. How interesting is that? Because obviously there's an assumption that people will have a set of polyhedral dice if you're playing a role-playing game. And most people do, but if it's your first one, I like how it's like, hey, don't worry about that. Use a pack of playing cards. Because playing cards maybe are a bit more accessible to people. They will probably have a pack of it because you use them in lots of different games. I always have... Sorry, what was it? I have wanted munchable materials during every one of those moments. Always feed your GM. Like it's suggesting an alternative, it definitely makes it more accessible. Yeah, so that's the thing, because I'm lucky enough to have, as I've been saying to Liz Campbell in chat, I have so many sets of dice that I'm like, what do I do with them all? So obviously I would have no problem with that. I do like, even for the base mechanic, like use playing cards instead. I really like that. So we'll be excited to see how different that is. We don't need another hero. The agents are not heroes. Dee recruits those who have no future, criminals sentenced to be executed to pay for their heretical pursuits. Ooh. Agents of Dee are vulnerable. This is a game where characters can and should die if they do not exercise caution. Sacrifice can be a mighty achievement. It tends to be the thing that sticks with players when remembering games. Again, lines and bets and all that sort of thing, obviously. And certainly this as well. Like, again, I love the idea of playing a person who, again, this is your management. Like, it's like, okay, you have an ability of some sort, and because of the way the system is, you have to do this, otherwise you will be sentenced to death. I think personally that's a story I find quite interesting to play, but not everyone would like to play that sort of story. So again, your mileage may vary on that sort of thing, but I think it's interesting. But here we've got the sort of different, like, it's not heroic. This sort of game is going to be. Expendable, fast character generation, and the existence of a retinue in service to Dee and Walsingham means that even when on distant quests for the cause, replacements are available. Ooh, that's exciting. If you had like a whole group, you could come in with different characters. Ooh, how exciting. Amateurs. The Elizabethan court was positively creaking under the weight of individuals claiming expertise in matters for which they possessed little actual skill. Agents have expertise, but never quite enough. They should always come to depend on each other to fill out those gaps. Nice, okay. Only slightly supernatural. All the characters got mixed up on the periphery of the occult. They are not wizards or necromancers. They are hapless dabblers who know that the supernatural exists but cannot command it. They get stretched to cantrips but don't expect fireballs. Oh, that's even better. I love that. The slight imposter syndrome. That's quite fun. And then criminals. Some people know that agents have a criminal past, and they are ready to remind them. At a drop of a word, every agent could find themselves in a cell waiting execution. And then marked in brackets. Death in brackets marked. These sage advice to Queen Elizabeth upon the the necessary of a supernatural defense for the realm has saved ages from execution. Execution. They have witnessed the convicted creaking on the Tyburn tree. For a brief moment, the spectre of death caressed their filthy cheek. Beneath us. Renaissance Europe has an increasing sense of us and them. The small favours and privileges that the commoner once considered their due has been swept away. Nobility both despise and fear the poor and downtrodden. Again, giving these sort of like a little bit of like what we expect from players, but also here's the themes and vibes in a way that again lines of veils. I think there's a problem already. We're only 8 pages in, but there hasn't been any safety tool mentions yet. So again, I would have this at the top saying like, hey, so this is the vibes and stuff like that. If people don't want to play the game, that's fine, but it's quite hard to uproot that sort of thing from something like this. Conflicted. Supernatural horrors might tear you apart, so you should run away. But if you run away, you'll be hunted down and hanged. If you're lucky. It's a rock or a hard place. Mostly in the dark. On the other hand, you only know as much as anyone tells you, so perhaps those horrors might have more to do with your nightmares and imagination. Nothing can be that bad, right? And then finally, scapegoats. So if you don't do something about it, you can guarantee the blame sits firmly with you. There are no authorities you can go to for amnesty. No one will believe you if you start blathering on about the occult and the strange creatures from other worlds. Interesting. On the topic of easy/hard death conditions, I like Fabula Ultimate, way of having characters that don't really die unless they're going for very specific conditions for a sacrifice. Yeah, I like that too. I think like it's I know like Tales from the Loop has this thing where kids never die, but they obviously get into peril and stuff like that, and obviously I appreciate that's kids per se. But I do like how genres like, you know, there are consequences to actions, but it's never like you were taken out of the game as a final thing. I will say the one game we looked at a long time ago on this channel, we looked at Troubleshooters, which was like a Tintin-esque type game, so based on like Hergé comics and stuff like that. They had some really horrible because the whole point of those things is that people don't die in those games. There's shootouts and fights and stuff, but then there's no killing. But you can kill NPCs and stuff like that. But it got to the point where it was saying like, oh well, if they do that, you have to warn them, and then you take all their points away and all this, and you're like, Session Zero would have sort this out. Like, just say there is no death. There's or there's certain conditions for it, as you said, like because that's what the story is asking of the players. I do feel like bad rolls and stuff like that. The dice tell a story, all that sort of thing. It's definitely one way of going for it. But also, as well, I think like if you want to make a really good story, and if death happens to be a part of that story, then again, as long as everyone's on board with it, and it's not unexpected, like it's been highlighted enough, and they have a chance to affect it. The player has a chance to affect it. That's the more important thing, I find. Because I can think of a couple of people who have played and they're like, I didn't have a choice. It was just down to a bad roll, and then I died, and I was like, that's not cool. So yeah, I'm always a big fan of like talking to the players about that sort of thing. And yeah, if the game system has certain ways to trigger it, as long as everyone's okay with that, absolutely. A short Tudor history. See our Gloriana, Empress of this Isle Pearl, silken robes of crimson, her form in might and glamour, frame in testament her father's brave. Shakespeare, Gloriana. Is that made up? Made up play? I don't know. Admittedly, I've not read all of Shakespeare's plays. Whilst not a work of historical fact, gameplay will undoubtedly benefit from some basic understanding of the Tudor landscape common features. Nice. Okay. This is society. So when you think of Tudor society, think of rural islands interspersed with slightly larger urban enclaves. These enclaves have an increasing pull over the centuries. Magnets for isolated hopefuls, those with aspirations, have the opportunity to dash themselves on the rocks of economic and social reality. The countryside serves as a breadbasket for the cities, both as a source of wealth for the nobility and staples for the table of professional and merchant class. Prosperity. By the end of the century, the population roughly doubled to more than 2 million, from more than 2 million, to approximately 4 million. Prosperity did not follow suit. The poor remained impoverished. Indeed, statute materialized over the century to deal with the rising tide of vagrancy and Rome's unemployment. Most towns supported a population of 1 or 2,000, with regular markets at which locals from all around would come to buy and sell. Trades would congregate on the same streets, something applicable to London or other large cities like York and Norwich and smaller towns. The fate and fortunes of nobility, gentry, and the church swayed and revolved throughout the period. As the throne shifted between Catholicism and Anglican intent. To traverse the realm, whether going to market, seeking work, or travelling with a purpose, most would go on foot or by horse. The roads were poorly maintained tracks at best, with few receiving the maintenance warranted or expected by statute. Carts and carriages were rare, uncomfortable, and likely to fall afoul of various variable conditions and maintenance of the road. Traders favoured rivers and coastal waters, ships and boats carrying raw materials, finished goods, and passengers. Many modern coastal towns and villages would once have supported far greater populations and enjoyed considerable prosperity when trade by water dominated. Discipline. Correction favoured swift and brutal acts over imprisonment. Easier to flog someone or shove them in the stocks. For more severe punishment, the criminal could be expected to be maimed as well. Removing fingers, ears, and eyes. Okay, content warnings, obviously, for these sort of things. Take care of yourselves. Death by hanging or beheading depended on status, the former for the poor and the latter for the wealthy. Whichever the case, the punishment of serious crime drew a large, boisterous, and demanding crowd. The business of maintaining law and order fell to the likes of the parish constables. Roles without pay, those sworn in by local magistrates would likely line their own pockets by collecting local taxes as execute the word of the law. Household. So poor folk lived in simple homes composed of 1 or 2 rooms, with minimal furnishings, basic beddings, and tallow lighting. Those of greater substance could afford more space, more comfortable and numerous furnishings, and beeswax candles. Furnishing generally extended to stools, benches, tables, and beds. Rich might have stretched to glass in their windows. But most others had shutters and strips of linen soaked in linseed oil. Most ordinary homes would be smoky, smelly, and dark, with some effort to alleviate the squalor through the use of sweet-smelling herbs. Rich or poor, most continued to dump the contents of their chamber pots outside, with some favouring cesspits to gather the waste. Without sewers or drains and a tendency for rubbish to end up in the streets, towns and cities had an atmosphere that was hard to ignore. Health and welfare. In these conditions, plague and disease could decimate towns and cities' populations, in the very Roman sense of the word. None were immune to the blight of sickness and ill health. Queen Elizabeth herself suffering the disfigurement of smallpox in her survival of the disease. Medicine relied more on superstition than on science, with the study of blood, urine, odours of bumps, and the stars all having their place in a practitioner's arsenal. Doctors were expensive and, in truth, providers of no great certainty of survival than any other medical practitioner. I mean, I don't know. Doctors in general, they've got better, so obviously medicine has got better, but female health and maybe trans health hasn't improved greatly. I need to head now. Have enjoyed so far. No worries, Kieran. Well, enjoy your game. I hope you have a fantastic time. Warfare and weapons. The period of increasing use and efficiency of the period saw the increasing use and efficiency of firearms over the typical bow and arrow. Hand-to-hand weaponry remained a mainstay of the battlefields, including swords, halberds, daggers, axes, and bill hooks. Mercenaries and soldiers returning from the war would do with their arms. Wait, what? Sorry. Returning from the war would do so with their arms. A lack of general law enforcement could see an argument escalate all far too easily into bloodshed. On the other hand, the same absence of order meant many men of arms would find work as guards, constables, or hunters, of both game and criminals. Whether in town or travelling on the open road, nowhere was safe. Few travelled without at least a blade in their possession. Indeed, some wouldn't think it unusual to travel with a pike that once warded off advancing cavalry. All right. Becoming agents of Dee. You define your agent by their ability to survive. Each must eke out the most of their expertise and connections to make progress. The Dee Sanctum measures the agent's essential facets by their resources. These three values provide a view of your character's base potential, measured in physical, intellectual, and supernatural, with double L's. There we go. Players generate the value of these three resources by assigning 6 dice steps. No resource can have fewer than 1 dice step. Oh, okay. And we've got a table here with the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dice steps, and then the resource into it. So we've got 1 dice step equals a D4, 2 is a D6, 3 is a D8, 4 is a D10, and 5 is a D12. You know what? I've got my dice here. I'm going to have it with me just so again, it's always good to learn as we go, right? Why don't I just get these out now and have a go? So D4, D6, D8, D10. That was a good D12. So, for example, for an extreme build of character creation, you could assign a D10 to one resource and a D4 to another, and place a D4 in the third, spending 6 allotted steps. Oh, okay. Well, I see. Right. So you have those 3 resources. And you can spend up to assigning 6 of them. So you could do you could do like a D6 for each of those 3. Or you could, as it said, you could do a D10 out of 4 and then do 2 1s in the other 2. Interesting. Okay. Or do a D8 in 1. And then a 2 and a 1 and okay. Oh, interesting. Okay. Sorry. I'm talking to myself now. So, the 3 resources. So we've got physical. This is the fragility or heft of the mortal form. A measurement of the spectrums of force, manual acuity, and targeted violence. And then we've got a completely different font there. Whoa. Resistance to physical harm or hindrance, whether fighting with a tooth and knuckle or outrunning the pitchfork-wielding aggressors. I see its examples here. Painstaking but thorough finger tip search or rapid shuffle through bookshelves or a drawer. Fingertip search? What is that word? Shrugging off toxins, shaking off sickness, or driving through sleeplessness. Okay, so those are all the physical stuff. Intellectual is structured learning and clarity of thought, the association of wits and law to build defensible concepts and principles. So we've got examples of resistance to propaganda, browbeating, or the manipulation of facts, logical handling of absurd law or puzzles, calculated deduction of facts from evidence based on clear principles, unyielding laws, and academic certainties. Overcoming deterioration of thought, the insidious influence of strange science, or obfuscation of manipulated facts. Then we have supernatural, an attunement to the otherness that surrounds and permeates our world, the anchoring of one's essential existence. The 3 examples we've got are resistance to the distortion of the senses and the wavering strength of personality brought on by madness or possession, gut instinct, the pull of the other, sensitivity to the flow of the universe as a road to enlightenment, and finally, weathering delusion, mesmerism, Gaius, glamour, mind control, and other similar attempts to overwhelm or erase the essence of self. The language choice here is interesting, and a whole accessibility issue here as well. Trust me, Uh, I, as someone, the one thing I always say about in terms of accessibility to stuff, as someone who always struggles with pronunciations anyway, the one thing I've hated about recent D&D books and settings and stuff like that, and again, not saying it's the only problem we have with wizards, is that you have some incredible, beautiful names of places and peoples or descriptions of things, but then no pronunciation guide or attempt to do it at the beginning, or a glossary of terms with like I said, phonetic spellings of things. Because I always want to try and do it, and then obviously I know some people are like, oh, I'm just gonna, I'm not gonna say it or something like that. Like I really loved Radiant Citadel as a cracking source of inspiration and some really interesting adventures in there. Each one of them had pronunciation guide for the characters in it and certain places and stuff, and I thought that was amazing, really good. Didn't have all of them. Didn't have like there's some places I was like, well, I don't know how to pronounce that, for example. But ever since then, there has been absolutely no attempt at a pronunciation guide, and that really drives me mad, or it drives me wild. Because I struggle with pronunciation. Like you've seen, I'm just like doing my best, but it's just like, oh gosh, it's so, again, it is an accessibility thing, 100%. We try, we carry on, don't we? Again, maybe it's supposed to invoke the theme of like the historical things, and they're always sort of a bit more flowery with their word choices. But yeah, it's a different mindset. Again, I said it the other day. Think about talking about maybe talking about universalists, perhaps. Maybe what was the one we did yesterday? I can't remember. But whereby one of my things I always said to the academics I used to work with at a higher education institution was that you have to write or create content for somebody who's reading online, and not necessarily about the level they could be like a very high-powered like business person, and in the meetings they're using all the jargon and the and all the words, etc. And then they go home, they're reading something online, they're reading like a topical at the time, BuzzFeed or BBC News. So the writing online, like if you read, it's very different. The print newspapers is a very different way of writing style compared to online, because online has to be at a level that everyone can understand. And I think the same thing with RPG books as well. I think there's been some good like introduction stuff, but sometimes you're like, whoa, hang on, come back to it a little bit. So I think they're trying to go for the vibes here, which I understand and I get. But yeah, either get the pronunciation guides in, or just write it in more user-friendly or sort of a accessible way of understanding these phrases, or like giving examples. Historical pretension should never be a substitute for directness or clarity, though. Absolutely. Oh yeah, no, I agree. We're on the same page here. I think it is vibes here, but again, I agree. I would rather have it in plain. Yeah. Sometimes I'm like, wait, what are you trying to say? I'm always a big fan of the voice of reason and understanding clarity, because otherwise we're not on the same page and it's bad. But yeah, 100% I agree. Oh, so this is an example of the character sheet, and I can see. Oh, wait a minute. Why does it go up to 62? Why is there so many? Oh, okay. Maybe it is page numbers. Right. I was going to say, I see that page 11 here talks about that talks about our resources here and the numbers there. Okay, phew, because I was going to say, there's going to be 62 points or something. No, it just tells us where we can find all the stuff. Okay, great. Oh, maybe there's a random character generator then. Oh, name generator at least. Okay. I guess from looking at it quickly, a clean-ish sort of character sheet. Is there any... one thing I do always have to check. Is it... Oh, I don't know if it's... Oh, you know what? That is a big shame. This page is not screen readable. This is. So this is an image. That's... Again, I guess that's okay, but like, how am I supposed to read it? If there's no alt text as well. So like, if someone's like learning how to play this game, and if I guess it's an example of something to look at, I can't read it if it's a screen reader. That is a shame. Ooh. Let's have a see here. So, backstory. Actually, you know what? I'll take this moment to have a drink of my water. There we go. How are we doing on time? Okay, about an hour in. I've got an hour left. Okay. So the backstory is, agents are shaped by their doom. Once ordinary folk, some fateful meeting with individuals of heretical beliefs led them down a dark path. Wait, the font size has changed. Oh, it's not as moved out. Oh, it's not changed. It's just a different format. It's just a different. That's weird. It seems much smaller. Am I being silly? I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Maybe it's because I zoomed out. You know what? Probably I zoomed out. Agents are shaped by their doom. Once ordinary folk, some fateful meeting with individuals of heretical belief led them down a dark path. In the end, they paid for their enlightenment by a black spot upon their soul. They ended up in a dank cell with days to live. Then, they got an offer that they could not refuse: redemption. An agent's backstory consists of crucial events in their recent past. A player rolls or selects an option from the tables at the end of this section. Their occupation, either from a clubs or spade, a damning association from hearts, and a focus from diamonds for their enlightenment. If drawing for options, pull from a full unblooded deck until you have a hearts, diamonds, and either one of a clubs or spade suit. Ooh, interesting. What's a full unblooded deck, though? Is that just 52 cards plus jokers? Favors of the Angels. Favors represent the low-key magical influence that an agent can exert. A player selects a favor by rolling a d4 column and then a d10 or choosing a card from a full unblooded deck. Favors are angelic magic of the lowest form. Influence over the base elemental forces of both mortal and unseen world. Once per game session, they work automatically unless inhibited or prevented from activating. So, for example, if the agents have ventured into some other realm like Hell or the Great Wood, a favor might not function. The GM should rule if a favor fails to fire off and allow the player to use it again later when freed from their current constraints. A favor can achieve a minor effect. The player describes it and the GM judges its outcome in mechanical terms. Favor can achieve unlikely effects, but they are always small in scale. A flammable item can smolder and catch without being close to a flame, but the agent cannot make someone combust. The GM has final call to decide how powerful an effect the agent can achieve. Favors have no specific definition or mechanics. If in doubt, err on the side of less than a moment, no larger than a fist, and certainly not enough of a consequence. So I have a quick thing here. This paragraph absolutely should have gone at the end, because they're like, okay, they work automatically unless inhibited. And I was like, well, what is it? And then it's here. That paragraph should absolutely come at the end there, because I'm like, why do I need to know about being prevented? Like, I feel that should have been right at the end. Abilities. So a backstory has a brief description and a choice of abilities. An ability is a general area of knowledge, expertise, or experience. A character creation, choose 3 of the 8 abilities presented across your backstory. You can take abilities from all parts of your backstory or fewer resources. An agent courtier could just choose 3 from the occupation and ignore the rest. As you survive further missions, you have the chance to add more abilities. Abilities can be used both passively and actively. In an ordinary, stress-free situation, you can use an ability to explain why your agent can do something, discover something, or know a given fact. You get what you want without a resource roll. When challenged, an agent with a relevant ability will get a step up. I assume that's some sort of advantage. You know what? I've just realised those glossary terms. These are the terms that are going to be shown in the back. Like, that's why there's so many like abilities. Like, it's highlighted several times. That's probably why it's like that. Oh, the train is going past. That's quite exciting. Hopefully you can't hear it too loudly on the thing. Abilities have no specific definition. They all represent a particular area of expertise. Their defined or definitive limits of use and fall to negotiate between a GM and the player. Lean towards helpful sometimes rather than always helpful if in doubt. Hits and unravelings. When an agent hits, signposts the harm they can withstand. If you lose hits when you waver in the face of a threat or a hazard. An agent's personality consists of a balance of humours, illustrated by your unravelling. Fear and the unnatural may lead to your agent displaying uncharacteristic behaviour if you falter, which we find out later on. Agent starts with 3 hits and a D8 unravelling. Just going to go back to that. So there's an unravelling here. Interesting. Okay, and D8 hits instead of here at the top. Oh, there you go. You can visit or mention that Twitter thing before to create a basic character outline online. Oh, that's quite good. That it says it on there as well. You could go and take. That's quite good. Oh, you can take the examples they give there. Exciting. Fortune. Each player starts with a single fortune token that they can spend to force the re-roll of any single throw of the die or dice. Fortune refreshes between adventures, but not in between game sessions. The GM or the whole table may choose to reward a player with an extra fortune, say for excellent roleplay or unexpected heroics. The agents of Dee are not the luckiest people, but they have other tools and allies to call upon when pressed or in danger. Take a chance. Not all tasks align with a specific resource. Sometimes it boils down to pure luck. The toss of a coin, heads or tails, or the crown or the cross, as an Elizabethan coin would bear on the sovereign of one side or another. So this is where that coin might come in from before. Maybe you'd want a special coin to do stuff. That's very interesting. As a GM, never leave a pivotal clue to chance. If the story stalls for lack of information, you have no one to blame but yourself. Beyond resources and abilities, the chance should be the next means to find additional information only if that detail is not apparent. What a weird sentence there that I clearly could not speak. If you have some element that might arise from knowing a random fact or events that might go either way, with no means to influence the outcome, then take a chance. Flip a coin and call it, or roll 1d6 and look for a result of 4 or higher. In that case, they make a connection or events flow favourably. The GM will provide any additional detail and the adventure moves on. Roll a 3 or lower and the outcome falters, not so much as to cripple progress, but certainly does not make life any easier. Right, so that's almost like an influence role that we have in Solemn Veil a little bit, like the idea of like you're taking a chance, like yes, no, like again, randomness which doesn't mean anything, doesn't really influence the outcome. But I like it. And it means, yeah, then again, it's more for merch, right? Optional and frivolous. Tag yourself, that's me. Round off the agent creation with elements like appearance, clothes, accent, and so forth. The book's appendices, so pages 60 to 62, contain random tables to help choosing a name, a hometown, an unusual mannerism, albeit we'll check those out perhaps, and a few small unique possessions. Tradecraft. Dee Sanction does not select agents on some arbitrary basis. The key to an agent's success lies in their backstories and network of experience. Neither Dee or Walsingham found the Queen's trust by chance. Her confidence in them derives from their focus, foresight, and fair judgment of character. Agents have the means to strive towards the truth or pluck an ace from the hole through their combined know-how. Every agent may not contribute to every scene. Still, collectively, the group benefits from their combined history, connections, and attitude. Tradecraft represents this pool of resource from which the whole group will draw. You can see the collected options in a You can see the collected options in a box of icons near the top of the character sheet. Okay, let's have a look. See. Ooh, okay, so that's what these symbols are up here. I see. Tradecraft. So these are the ones that I can do, I guess. That Robert Thomas here, the caretaker, could be good. Interesting. Why do we have an ore here? I like the idea of like icons or stickers perhaps, and then maybe as you continue to go, like level up, if that's such a thing, you can add more stickers or more labels perhaps. Ooh, I like that. Anyway, establishing and using tradecraft. The team must choose one tradecraft after being briefed on a mission's nature. The selection refreshes at the start of each adventure, assuming that the next adventure's focus has a new direction and is not just a continuation of last session. Tradecraft is both narrative and mechanical values and has two possible uses. Agents can benefit from the value of the tradecraft if they possess a general ability across the whole team, or deplete it to cancel or neutralize a mark. Agents might not get rid of that N there. Achieve a goal or overcome an adversary without it. Okay. The tradecraft's function as an ability is not retained beyond the adventure. I've just lost my mouse for a second there. Let me plug it in. The battery's gone. What poor timing. There we go. There we go. How weird. Clearly the battery must have gone. What rubbish timing. Should have told me. Okay, there we go. Tradecraft function as an ability is not retained beyond the current adventure. Think of it as a character in an episodic TV series with an interest or hobby that never features again. Narratively, the table can decide which agent to associate with the tradecraft selection with reference to their past adventures. I'm going to read out the play example. I need to know. Oh, that's just this person's got a hold of a hand. Maybe. Oh, it's their other glove. Okay, it's their other glove. Don't panic. Then a little goblin creature. Oh no. I assume it's wearing pants. By the way, I assume that's what it is. Although the texture of it makes it look like this poor person's just like torn off the skin. Ow. Oh. So, for example, the agents choose access and note that they had expert assistance in animal handling techniques from a representative of the Guild of Lawyers. Yeah. For this adventure, they can use that to calm, guide, and assess animal well-being. Throughout the adventure, one agent shows a particular affinity for the animals, and in later missions, he keeps a reputation as something of a soft touch when dealing with people. This connection between agent and tradecraft colours their reputation. The GM might work that into the story or note it for an ad hoc bonuses. Okay, so it's more of a flavour something? I assume so. Tradecraft also represents how the agents attempt to prepare for the unexpected and the unknown. Enemies, hazards, and events may have one or more marks. To overcome or cancel a mark requires the group to decide to deplete or use up their tradecraft. So, for example, the Grand Wolf of Naven can be tracked and battled, but not so simply defeated. To defeat it, it requires knowledge of the creature's true name, seasoned dagger of thrice lightning-struck iron, and a silver-furred wolfskin. To denote this, the profile of the Grand Wolf is marked CKM. To defeat the target with more than one mark requires a more than one adventure. Indeed, if the agents misjudge the mission, they might have no suitable tradecraft to aid in their first encounter. To defeat the Grand Wolf, the agents need a combination of conspiracy, true name and location, kit, which is wolfskin, and magic, a hazel seasoned thrice lightning struck iron dagger. Unfortunately, their brief for the first adventure had led them to select access, but they cannot make progress in this mission. As a win condition, tradecraft serves to show how agents have accessed and prepared. As a GM, creating a goal or a threat with multiple marks increases the difficulty and adds complexity. To win the game, I thought RPGs weren't about winning, the agents need to engage in additional missions to acquire all the tools and information they need to succeed. So, back to that example, the agents can't defeat the Grand Wolf of Strathnaird. Strathnathan in one go. In the first adventure, they discover how it might be defeated in the closing reveal, following a fruitless battle against the formidable enemy or its minions. Over the next 3 adventures, agents will need to select conspiracy, kit, and magic as their tradecraft selections in whatever role they choose. If the agents choose one of the tradecraft needed to defeat a target for the session, they have a chance to advance their goal in the first adventure. For example, with Conspiracy, the agents discover the Grand Wolf's true name and identity as the benefactor of Mary Queen of Scots. As a narrative tool, gathering the means to achieve a goal's forces, the agents make careful choices based on limited information. This might make an adventure more challenging where the tradecraft doesn't neatly map their current goal. A wily GM may exploit or at least call out this dichotomy. Yeah. In addition, a GM can have lesser hazards and events in an adventure that tradecraft can resolve, but this would lead to an early depletion. So, for example, the agents can use access to enter the Tower of London or magic to bribe the Emperor Rudolph II with a rare treasure to buy time in the dungeons with Edward Kelly. Again, my issue here, it gives us how to defeat it, but then talks about and it gives an example that they chose the wrong thing. I think that should have been the second thing, and then if they choose the right thing, should be first. So you should always have the positive thing first, rather than the negative thing. And then that's happened twice now. It's got sort of talked about what happens if you don't do the thing first, and it's like, well, what is the thing? A little bit of restructuring there, I feel. Ways and means. The icons on the character sheet identify 6 broad influences in tradecraft. Okay, so it's the same 6. We've got access, which summarizes the people, groups, and associations known to the agents, such as allowing them to strike off a favor owed, acquired temporary use of some rarity, or sidestep an awkward situation. There's some examples here. Loan the tongue of St. Anthony. Oh, give it back. Give it back. And again, no alt text on these icons either, which is a shame, especially because that example of the character sheet does not have any alt text. Conspiracy represents agency and action that questions both the status quo and common sense. The crumbling hold of the church and diverse power play across the courts of Europe, led to the institution of myriad combines and what on earth? Sodalities? Orders focused on the obscure biblical tracts, influential personalities, or notions of divine heritage as their central tenet. Okay, fine. Kit outlines the agent's preparation or preparedness, possessing the right piece of mundane equipment, clothing, material, or ingredient just at the right time. Often the possession of a critical item ties back to a friend, a companion, or mentor who insisted on never going anywhere without it. Magic frames the agent's immersion in the periphery of the other world. Given the attitude across Europe to witchcraft, recognition or confession to a knowledge of magic is tantamount to signing your own death warrant. Context will expect complete anonymity and mutual respect for the continued occultation as a source. System describes an agent's familiarity with the pulleys and levers required to sidestep the law, accelerate bureaucracy, and bullseye the loopholes in the monolithic European establishment and officialdom. Ugh. And then finally, vigilance portrays a flair for watchfulness, curiosity, and caution. The gift of well-timed revelations that either put an adversary off guard or furnishes a colleague with insight. Sorry, my question. Okay, I understand that this is a big thing. Do you do this I assume you do this at the beginning of every play session or every new adventure you all agree together. This feels like... I feel this should have been on a different page. We're now starting the main rule mechanics, because this is still within... I think because obviously before it was cutting down into sections, but I think this needs to be in a different page. But this is completely separate to the character creation. We know we mention it here. We'll talk about it in game, that it is a group decision to make. So it doesn't change or anything like that. Okay. We still don't even know really what you actually do with it. It's got narrative, but there must be a mechanical thing where I presume you roll whatever dice it is, it completes it. Or does it just like we use it once and we cancel out a mark? I don't understand. This feels a bit disjointed in terms of layout and arrangement of topics. Yeah. I mean, as I was saying before, like I like the idea of having. I'm gonna shoot back a little bit. Like, where were we? Tradescraft is at the end of here, and it's kind of like added on a little bit. And the same with the Take a Chance thing. It's like when these feel like things that happen as main game mechanics, like rather than like, oh, or maybe is this the main bit of the rules? Because so far, I assume you just roll like a D8 or something like that, like for when you do stuff. Is it like 6 and above? I've yet to know what the actual game mechanic is. We've done like character creation, and then it's sort of gone into like it just feels a bit disjointed, as you said, Phoenix Femme. How weird. Sorry, I was like, wait, what are we doing here? Excuse me. Right, alright. But I guess it's trying to describe like this is the tradecraft thing at the top here. But like we've not even talked about what the injuries are really. That hit, yes, and it's going to come back to here. I can see 25 here. So I guess it's got page like numbers, but they're all over the place. Like, surely you'd go for it in order. Like we've already done like the stats here. That's how you create them. I got that. And then expertise. That's from the pulling with the cards thing. But even that wasn't too obvious. Oh, that's even on the next page. Okay. And then it goes like mundane possessions. Oh, it's in page 60 for the appendices. Like, that's really frustrating. All over the place. Alright, where were we? Let's get. See? Like, okay, we've got some quick things here. Roll or draw? Okay. Occupation part 1, so we could roll a d10 or we can draw clubs, I'm guessing. Yes. Yeah, I see. The occupations. Nice. Okay, so we've got 20 occupations that we could do. Oh, but then like, I think you should wait. You should probably decide, because obviously we've got 2 different suits, but maybe you should be like, flip a coin. Heads? Okay, now roll a d10. Right. So here, if we were a doctor, and we pulled like the ace of clubs, the description is assistant to one of the few chartered physicians who claimed recognition of their depth of medical knowledge, and therefore you get these 3 abilities. So reassurance, for a doctor, anatomy, and diagnosis. It feels like this book suffers from enthusiastic fan problem. So, hang on. It feels like this book suffers from the enthusiastic fan problem of writing. I have so many cool ideas to show you, and loses a conversation as a result. Yeah, I agree. So, like, don't get me wrong. I'm actually quite interested now. Like, again, as I said before, I was like, I'm not so sure about this setting. And I was like, But then I was like, okay, I like the idea, I like the concept. And okay, character creation seems very straightforward. And then you have all these other things. I'm like, how do I tell players this? It's not, again, maybe it's written out better later on, but I'm already like, oh. Like this part here about like creating a character, this should be further up. This should be straight after the end of the character. It should be literally here. Like, end of this, move tradecraft elsewhere. And then like, okay, get those tables and occupations out. Alright. But yeah, I do feel like occupation part 1. So do I decide, do I flip a coin? If I was doing like dice rolling? Because here, yeah, we're going to have the association, but that's going to be heart, and then diamonds for focus as well. So you do get quite a few abilities then as a result. Because you have to get 3 of those, right? Sorry, I'm just going to go back and check because I've now forgotten. Backstory. So agent's backstory consists. So yeah, occupation, damning association, and focus. Yeah, it's not explained what a full-blooded deck is. I presume it's going to be in the thing at the back. Select the option, and then what happens? Do we write all the stuff down? Wait. It's here. Okay, it's here. At character creation, choose 3 of your 8 abilities presented across your backstory. Okay, I remember that now. You can take abilities from all parts of your backstory or fewer resources. So you could take it from either just one occupation or... Okay, right. So you can't take them all at once. Interesting. Okay, that's interesting. But again, that's taken me... I've completely forgotten about that. So now I have to reread that. Okay. Good to know. And then we've got favors. Here we go. Roll a d4 for the column and then a d10. Or draw a single card from an unblooded deck. Column 1. And then that was a 3. So Scorch, which is burn, sear, and tear. Burn, sear, char. Oh, char. Char, darling. Let's go back and have a look at this character sheet. Was that? Where was that? Favor. Here. Cool. Alright, so that goes there. Fine. Sorry, I'm just trying to work this out as I go. Yeah, it feels like it's so far away. Like, we've gone into the rules of the tradecraft, which feels very important, and then we're going, right, now we'll go back to creating characters. Like, what? Okay. Okay, now we've come to the actual rules. We've got half an hour left, so we'll see how we get that. The heart of the game. Role-playing games involve a lot of storytelling, but everything isn't merely made up. If played totally on the fly, you would soon descend into an argument. To prevent chaos, the GM keeps order by applying the rules outlined in the game section. Broadly, but not strictly, the rest of this core book is intended for GM's use only. Really? Ah. You still haven't told the main rule for how to run the game for the players, though. I think that's kind of important. Players explain what they want their agent to do, how they plan to do it, and what effort or preparation they apply to make the outcome more achievable. The GM has the job of interpreting the proposed action, explaining the price of failure, and using the game mechanics to define the challenge. Sometimes this will mean the throw of a dice, and others, the stated activity just plays out. Either way, the story moves along. Only the players roll dice to resolve a challenge. What? Why only the players? Oh, I guess the GM doesn't roll dice. That's what it's trying to say. Only the players roll dice to resolve a challenge. If they fail or falter, the player can expect their agent to suffer for the progression. Okay. So, when success or failure comes into question, you have a challenge. The player explains their intent and what the agent does to achieve it. The GM then states potential positive or negatives or outcome of an action, so the consequences, name the resource involved, calculates any advantage or disadvantage that applies to the roll. The player then rolls a die associated with the stated resource of physical, intellectual, and supernatural, abbreviated to Phys, Int, and Supcha, to meet the challenge. Okay. On a result of 1 or 2, then the challenge falters. The agent suffers some form of consequence. This is not an outright loss, but is called failing forward. An agent makes progress, but with adverse complications. In a fight, a falter means suffering some harm in some form of a hit or some form of consequence. See fighting. For any other challenge, a falter means achieving the desired effect in a way that complicates things. Maybe something breaks or clatters. Any other result on the die means success. The agent achieves the intended outcome. Oh. Okay, so obviously the bigger the dice value, say you did put that d10 in something, the likely is that you're not going to 1 or 2, but then a d4, for example, you would get, it's like a 50-50 chance. Okay. I mean, yeah, yes, I guess that's very straightforward, I guess, but it does feel a bit like, oh, why would you roll for a d10 then, or a d12 if you've got it in results? Like, you're very likely to succeed, and so maybe interesting. So, anyway, step up or step down. So a GM may increase or ease a challenge's difficulty because of factors like environment, preparation, or enemy potency. So, for example, an agent with a proper set of lockpicks will find the task of picking a lock much easier. In this case, you can step up, so with the arrow, little triangle pointing up, the resource. So assume it's 1 high, so you increase the die value up. So a d6 becomes a d8, etc. And the maximum is a d12, so it's more likely with a step up that you're going to succeed. In some situations, the GM may judge that the circumstances, conditions, or lack of equipment work against you, and that's when you step down. So again, if you have a d6, it will go down to a d4. A drop below the d4 means a challenge becomes a call to fail. The GM asks the player if they choose to drop out or take the pain of for the cause. In a fight, the agent may stick to it to draw an enemy's attack. Without a suitable ability, a lack of expertise, the GM may judge a task impossible. Raw resources alone cannot meet a challenge requiring knowledge or skill. Again, there's these examples. It keeps saying like, oh, and in fighting we do this, and it's like we're not talking about fighting just now. Wait for the combat section. That you'll talk us all through that then. Oh, terrifying, that image. But tag yourself. Which one are you? I'm this particular individual here. Hello. We don't take any. Not today, thank you. Threats. The GM should represent any challenges with adequate explanation of both the up and down sides of facing. A threat is anything the GM uses against the PCs that might hurt or hinder them. That could mean a rampaging cultist twisted by magic, a rabble of bruised-bribed soldiers come to rough them up, or a concealed trap. When agents face a threat, the GM presents it as a challenge, but unlike a standard challenge, threats intend to cause harm by inflicting loss of hits and/or consequences. An agent with no resources to face down a threat due to a step down below a D4 will always come off worse in a fight. It would be better to fall back and return later, prepared and with reinforcements. Okay, we're now going into combat, I'm guessing. It's the Order of Bloodshed. Again, I get it, maybe it's being thematic in that sense, but why don't we just have big titles that says combat? People can find it. We came to ask you about your vehicle's extended warranty. Do you need to trade in your old horse and cart? The Order of Bloodshed. So a fight continues until one side expires, surrenders or runs away. A moment, roughly a dozen seconds of an activity, breaks down into 4 stages. So we have 4 stages of check initiative, state goal, resolve actions, initiative order, and handle damage. So check initiative. So at the start of each moment, so presumably each turn, determine initiative by taking a chance. Agents make the check as a group, though the GM may need to handle exceptions. Just before we continue on, why we should probably have had the glossary at the start of the book. It feels like, because there's a lot of stuff here which I'm like going, I'm assuming a moment is like a round of combat. That's what I'm guessing it is. So I'm like, or a dozen seconds of activity. I assume it's like, okay, but it's not obvious, I don't think. Determine the initiative by taking a chance. Is that make the check as a group? Oh, so that's the flipping of the coin, isn't it? Hang on, that's my. I'm just gonna. Oh, there we go. Yeah, okay. I can unclick my mouse. Hang on, going back to the take a chance. Maybe change your mind. Yeah, toss of a coin. So heads or tails. I mean, I like that. I like the idea of that. Or alternatively, a glossary at the beginning of each section. This feels cluttered both in layout and information. Yeah, absolutely. Especially because they've got here we've got emboldened like obviously people's of interest names, for sure. Yeah, I think at the beginning of each session would be good. I think like I said before, if we go back to like there's obviously lots of little chapters, which is great. I think that's great for like ease of reading. Like, oh yeah, I'll just do that. But I don't know, like sample character. Like this is the start of character creation here, which goes I think all the way till here. Just have that under the umbrella, the sort of heading to character creation, you know. And then, as you said, have like a little section for each one saying like, okay, resources mean these things, you know. Anyway, so yeah, it is a flip of a coin, which I like. I like flips of coins. Very simple, and it's chance based and 50-50, so I love that sort of thing. Right, where were we? Agents make the check as a group, though the GM made it on a falter. Oh, maybe it wasn't what I thought it was. On a falter, all the enemies will act first, otherwise the agents will all act first. Hang on, have I missed? I thought it was a... Sorry, I'm going back and forth. I really want to get this right. Take a chance. GM will never let a take a chance. Oh, here we go. Flip a coin and call it, or roll a d6 and look for a result of 4 or higher. The outcome falters. So yeah, if you call it. Right, I guess if you don't call it, that is a falter. Obviously, it's talking about like if you roll 3 or lower, that is a falter. Why? This good idea is not clear in the execution of it. Right, sorry, we'll get back to it. Where were we? On a falter, all the enemies will act first, otherwise all the agents will act first. Great, love that. The agents should recheck the order of initiative at the start of each moment. So it changes every single time. Again, I like it. So you're not, you're engaged, you're listening in the fight. You're not, it could be your turn next, or you might have to wait. Like, I like that sort of stuff myself. State goal. So each character, whether player or GM controlled, states their goal for that moment. A goal should be something simple and break down into one of 2 acts, like I move past the guard and snatch the keys, or I slip beneath the enemy's defenses and swing up my sword. A goal is likely to have an "and" in it unless an agent wants to focus on one thing. In that case, it can perform that act with a greater magnitude, intensity, or concentration. The player who says, I run as fast as I can, will move at least twice as far as someone who moves and does something else. Interesting. That's an interesting way of putting it, actually. But again, and the GM has final say on judging the practicality of a goal. Again, I agree with that. I do like that way of putting it in the terms. I would want to tell that to the players as well. That you have a better chance of doing one thing, but you can do 2 things. But obviously I have final say. I think there's a better way of writing it here, personally speaking. Then we have resolve attacks, presumably in initiative order of some sort. So resolving all attacks, whether by or upon an agent, is usually resolved with a physical challenge. The GM should adjudicate the challenge based on circumstance, environment, and the adversary's potency. The player can roll both to attack and to offend. So if we had a d6 in physical, we'll have the agent. If it's a success, so anything bar a 1 or a 2, the agent deals damage to their opponent. Usually 1 hit. So okay, 1 damage. The weapon may cause more or add consequences. Defend, the character avoids any harm, so I'm guessing that's if you succeed. Then the falter, when it's a 1 or a 2, GM throws for hit resolution to determine the harm or consequences inflicted. Okay, fairly straightforward, but again, that's taken me a moment to actually consider that. Maybe it's just the way it's presented here, perhaps. I don't know. So an enemy can attack, forcing a challenge to defend as many times as its attack value. 1, unless stated otherwise. All other enemy damage comes from responses to failed attacks by agents. The GM is free to choose a target of enemy attacks. You know what would have been good here? A play example. Because what? All or nothing defense. So instead of attacking, an agent could choose to solely defend. They step up their physical resource to roll a challenge. If they succeed, they avoid damage from their opponent and 1 other attack in the current moment. Otherwise, they sustain an injury as usual. Fight unarmed. Attacking someone without a weapon or intent to disable is achieved only by inflicting consequences. Wrestling might impose a restrained condition, while smacking someone with a billy club could render them dull-headed. Maybe be a bit careful about stuff like that, perhaps. Maybe concussion might be better. If someone has consequences sufficient to no longer roll a specific resource, they're considered subdued or rendered harmless. Subdued NPCs can no longer resist or fight. Handling damage. So hits measure your capacity to soak up hurt and harm. When you lose all of your hits, you are put out of action. I like that. I like that phrase. At 0 hits, you're dying, but your life might yet be salvaged. A cruel or mindless foe could end you unless a colleague steps in to defend you. A GM should invite opportunities for such a response. Resistance. Make sure you guys can see. Armor or other forms of protection provide resistance that negates hits suffered from the enemy's attacks. If someone strikes an armor target and roll the die indicated. So if you've got armor, so maybe d6, that's fine. A result of 1 or 2 negates any hits suffered, unless noted otherwise. Why? I guess because it's less likely you get a 1 or a 2. But that's almost like opposite way of thinking to what we've been doing so far. Out of action. So at 0 hits, an agent is dying. Without assistance, they will expire. Every moment after reaching 0 hits, the player must take a chance and note each falter in the 2 boxes beneath the agent's hits. Oh yes, we saw that before. When they falter for a 3rd time, the agent dies. Right. So again, it is pretty much like a death saving throw, but it's a flipping of a coin. Which, again, I kind of like that. Like, in the sense of, like, you choose heads. Damn, that's my second tails. Yeah, getting it wrong. Guessing incorrectly. I kind of like that. I like that idea. If another character spends a moment to offer aid, and a successful intelligence challenge will stabilize the dying agent. If the check falters, the dying agent must make an immediate take a chance again. The aid giver can administer additional support if they choose to during a later moment. Once stable, the agent has 0 hits but isn't dying, and the player rolls on the outer action table, which is below, and the GM chooses an appropriate consequence for the outcome. And so we have 6 different outcomes. We've got stunned, senseless, fragile, tag yourself, overcome, wasted, and blood-soaked, with conditions of some sort, which are not explained. The business of dying won't start again until they suffer more harm. The player cannot remove falter marks, these must be falter marks, accrued from the take a chance roll until their agent has a chance to rest outside of the current scene. Are these roleplay things? I mean, I'd be very careful about some of these words here. Again, I appreciate it is supposed to be like historical stuff, but just gotta be a little bit careful. Rest and recuperation. Agents must have the equivalent of a full night's rest, i.e. 6 to 8 hours to recover all hits. Otherwise, they recover a single hit for every 2 hours of uninterrupted sleep. Okay. Consequences. Many attacks and hazards inflict consequences in addition to hits. Some consequences linger, like poisoned or paralyzed. Okay, so the consequences are basically conditions that of some sort. Others are temporary and resolved in a moment, like standing up to negate a fall at the stage, or make distance to break being flanked by an overwhelming opposition. An agent may need to seek specialist assistance in removing a lingering consequence, like finding an apothecary to neutralize a poison or a doctor to mend a broken arm. A lingering physical condition is called an injury, such as sprained wrist or internal bruising. Again, tag yourself, that's always me. A lingering intellectual or supernatural consequence is called an affliction, such as becoming baffled or haunted. And then a situational consequence impacts one or more resources. It is temporary, like a fallen agent or flanked by foes. The GM should invoke a consequence as a basis for a resource to step down as part of a challenge. Okay. On the same grounds, an agent can gain advantage of step up where a consequence impacts the enemy. Like, for example, agents who manage to flank a monster or fight a foe mired in deep water. I guess it would be nice to know if we have like a list of all the different consequences that we could have. But maybe it's made up. Maybe it's a bit like the conditions we have in Brindlewood Bay, for example. The GM can state that a consequence makes a challenge impossible. For example, agents cannot sprint with a twisted ankle. If an agent sustains 3 identical lingering consequences, the GM can cancel all but one to inflict a hit. Ooh. So an agent with 3 instances of, say, bleeding would scratch 2 and be bleeding and take a hit in harm. Interesting. I sort of trade into that. I think that's interesting. I like that. Different way of thinking about it. Then we've got the nature of the enemy. So again, it's a way of reading. So I can already see some shorthand for stuff, and I'm already dying a little bit inside, but it's okay. So we've got obviously the name, the number of hits required to defeat this threat, resistance, the type and strength of the antagonist's defenses, and any tradecraft required to defeat them with this format. Okay, so we have up or down. So we've got step up, step down. Clearly that's going to be taught to us in a second. Some dice things, and then presumably all the tradecraft stuff there. So there are So this represents potency, armor, and tradecraft. So for example, 2 steps, and then 1d4, and then access, conspiracy. I don't remember what K is. Gosh. Okay, this could be a slow-moving elemental giant, easy to hit but fiendishly hard to harm or defeat. A capable unarmored commoner might show as none, indicating no potency or tradecraft adjustment with no armor. So potency at the beginning here applies a step down or a step up to all agents to attack or defend it. It might be any value from 2 step up to 6 step down. Oof, that's brutal. The GM may rule agents can reduce the impact of an enemy's potency through consequences like flank. Armor, so here, I'm guessing the d4 or 2, perhaps? When an agent strikes an enemy, roll the indicated die. Okay, so 1d4 here. And a result of 1 or 2 resists the hit. Yes. The armor is a physical and less marked. So for example, 1d8 mg means protection from both magical and common attacks. A special armor will include additional detail under abilities. And then tradecraft, a letter indicates a specific requirement for the defeat. If the agents do not have those required items or preparation, they can only achieve a stalemate. Okay. An enemy's abilities will list any specifics, but a letter might just be a shorthand for any suitable preparation. So for example, M might mean using a magical weapon or performing a ritual to deliver the killing blow. In the meantime, K just requires the use of specialized kit. K for kit, I understand. Hit resolution. So harm an enemy inflicts when an agent falters their combat challenge. Some options have extra variables, notably consequences, or might change as the battle progresses. So the default ones we have is back off, jab, graze, and solid strike. So I guess that's the courses of actions you could take. Interesting. Or you roll or you take the suit for it. Make the distance here means forfeiting the opportunity to strike to move away. The enemy is overwhelmed or flanked by agents will end any consequence suffered and might flee depending on the circumstances or reaction. Attacks, the GM can target any agent in range and force a challenge roll to defend, adjudicated by the potency as usual. Success avoids harm, and the falter of 1 over 2 causes a roll of 1d6 plus 2 on the hit resolution table, or remove the heart from the draw. No idea what that means. Abilities. Usually this spot contains any other details. Oh, it's still going off like a... it would be nice if it actually told us here. This is an example of it here. Again, it's not obvious that. That should be in a box, shouldn't it? Actually show us, because it's going to say abilities here can overwhelm. And the attacks it can do there. That's so frustrating. That just looks like it's continuing on from here. So it's describing, as obviously it's breaking down what the stat block is. And then here's 2 examples of it. It's not obvious. Oh, that's really annoying. And you can find some varied adversaries. I think adversaries is better than NPCs or enemies, personally. Alright, how are we doing on time? We're almost at the end. I'm just having a quick look. We've got some stuff about unraveling. Tell you what, I'm going to read this one page about unraveling and then we're going to call it quits there because we're almost at the end of time. So the unraveling. The power of faith is real and struggling. Catholicism came under fire for, and the Protestant reform called into question the belief in manifestation of sanctity, the body of Christ at communion, the earthly influence of saints, holy places, and the power of the crucifix. Henry VIII continued to believe, but the monastery's dissolution ravaged the earthly symbols of belief, and it snapped a thread and set the unraveling in motion. In the dense and trackless forest, the shadowy stretches of rambling roads, the ruins of sacked churches, the otherworldly slivered through the widening gaps in the weave of our world. Once the folklore found power as a tool of education and warning, now it becomes something visceral and dangerous. The return of the supernatural brought with it primeval power that might reshape the world. Chaos erupts in dark places and the wild hunt rides out. The oldest and strongest emotion of mankind is fear, and the oldest and strongest kind of fear is fear of the unknown. Unraveling measures these changes' effects upon ordinary people, like the agents. Exposure to unnatural horrors, unbridled with chaos and the influence of other worlds, disrupts their delicate psyche. Trauma manifests itself as bursts of inconsistent behavior that twist and restrain personality and relationships. Like a thread twisted and pulled to a breaking point, an agent can suffer unsettling and disturbing drifts when exposed to the inhuman, abhorrent, and the impossible. When an agent confronts an inhuman horror or the supernatural, roll their unraveling die, which starts as a d8. On a falter, then the die steps down. Ooh, interesting. Again, this is kind of like taking its sort of bit of influence from sanity checks from Call of Cthulhu, I can imagine. When the die roll unraveling dice drops, the agent experiences a temporary shift in their humours, the equilibrium of elements that shapes their personality and well-being. Roll both a d8 and a d6, or make a deck of 4 cards, one of each suit, then draw one, and then draw one, then one of the rest, and consult the outcome on the human sphere on the next page. Okay. The immediate effect, the d8, persists and as indicated for the rest of the scene. The ongoing consequence of a d6 lasts until the agent has a chance to long rest. Okay, so this is, I presume, like a role-playing thing, perhaps, or flavour something. We'll find out, no doubt. If dropped to below a d4, the unraveling works like a call to fail. An agent cannot avoid the source of the roll; they automatically falter. Unraveling cannot recover without rest or professional interventions like a doctor. A night of rest will restore 1 lost die, and a week is required to recover any further loss. The strongest kind of fear. A GM may judge an experience as more or less frightening depending on the situation and how personal the experience might be and the measure of the weird. In a deeply personal or incomprehensible situations, a step down of the die before the roll. Step down the die before rolling. A minor fright or discovery may step up the die or not justify any roll at all. Okay, I do think it's an interesting way that, again, you always have to be careful whenever confronting the unknown and the fear, and then playing on that as possible. She says, obviously, without looking at the next table, possible like insanity or phobia mechanics as well. Again, lines and veils and all that sort of thing. I think it's an interesting thing. Again, I just wish it was clear. Like, obviously here it's like, oh, use the dice, or one for each, and then draw one, and then draw the rest. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I just think it's just not clear at all. Like, if I would love to play this game purely for playing cards, because that really interests me. And I'm just already like, wait, which? I thought, oh, anyway. This is giving Call of Cthulhu vibes, and I'm not fond of that game's way of handling madness. Yeah, I completely agree. It's and like, again, like I said, I understand what it's trying to do, perhaps, and it's a different way of dealing with it. Again, we'll see on the next page what's going to happen. But yeah, easily, I think you just wouldn't have it in your game. Like I said, I like the way the story is talking about so far. I think something like this, it doesn't seem to, like, for me, it's like, is it just a role play thing? Because if so, chuck it, take it out. Sorry, phlegm is always my favourite. Immediate effect. So phlegm is immediate response is dulled senses, so acts of perception and problem solving are stepped down when the presence of a fear source. Okay. Black bile is overwhelmed to extreme emotions, eyes filled with tears, body racking by sobbing. Take a chance to complete any complex task in the presence of a fear source. I will say I do like the different levels being like phlegm, black bile, yellow bile, personally, although blood at the end. Characters filled with bitter rage towards all allies whilst in the presence of fear. Take a chance at act in a selfish way on a falter. Attitudes persist in the present source of fear. And then blood is inadvisably optimistic. Despite the horrors or the difficult positions faced, blindly positive. Acts of violence or aggression are stepped down whilst in the presence of fear source. Okay. Alright. I wish more systems approached it like heroic chord, where that system directly refers to it as a form of dissociation, or aether, which causes stress. Oh, that's really interesting. I have not heard of those ones. Let me write that down before I forget, and I will add it to the list. Oh no, breaking things. I haven't heard of those ones, but I appreciate you suggesting them. Because again, I am the same. Like, it's all about understanding these things. Like, some games do it better, etc. I will say that those 4 options currently, I mean, I've yet to look at on the other side, don't seem too bad. Well, you links? Oh, that's very kind of you. Very much appreciate it. And then what was the other one? Cool. All right. So looking at this, we have ongoing consequences. Fat-witted, we call it something absolutely else there. Absolutely. Canker sorrowed. I like that word. Afflicted with a sense of grief, struggling to see self-worth. Unheedy, sullen, afeared, sickly, crabbed, prone to sharp changes in emotional state. Folklorish? Eager for conflict, spiteful, foolish, gullible, precarious. Okay, so what I would say is that I would never force people to play these things unless they felt comfortable with it, and I certainly wouldn't play them for it. It doesn't feel currently too madness, but again, I like the immediate effect that there's something bad has happened, like you do that, and then ongoing consequence. So I don't think it's too bad, but again, if it's something that you always check with the rest of your table, right? You go, do you want to play with these things? And people go, no, thank you. We go, excellent, throw it out of the way. All right, another picture. Tools of defense. We're gonna probably leave it there because this looks like equipment. I'll tell you what, we'll have a quick flick through because it's about another 15 pages before the actual. Tell you what we will look at. I've got enemies, so this is like a bestiary. Fine. We'll look at the glossary, shall we? See how that's helpful. And this is, what is this? Tudor age. The gaming group, you might decide on setting specific values. Okay, that's quite good. Probably a good thing to have. Maybe should have had that at the beginning, perhaps. Oh, nice picture of Elizabeth there. Definitely themes, conspiracy and superstition. Might go a little bit over time, folks. We'll give it another 10 minutes just to have a look through. Stuff for the GM, always good. Resolution disease. Oh, I don't know. Wait, hang on, did it say improvise just there as well? At the bottom. Hang on, where did it go? Improvise rather than have to worry about the following the lesser of the adventure. 100%. Oh, hello, Hogan. How are you doing, my friend? Oh, you're coming in right at the last minute, so don't worry. We're glad to have you here, though. Hope you're having a good day so far. Existing adventures, etc. Many books and websites. Oh, okay. This is quite good. Again, I would definitely have some touchstones or something like that too, if you want to find out more of these folks. So here you got spies, espionage. Oh, that's quite good. Is there any? I was going to say general viewing. Oh, a discovery of witches. How exciting. And then it goes into the one-shot adventure, which again we're not going to look at. I'm going to just skip through that. So don't look at spoilers. Just popping back in. Saw you still live. Oh, that's great. Glad to hear. Yeah, we're just finishing up still. In conclusion. Okay, and then we've got these. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. And then these are the... sorry, words are not my strong point. These are the appendixes, I think. Manors and mansions. Random names, so yes, you could draw them there. Again, you could send a message to this particular Twitter and get a different character. Or you could draw as well. Again, I guess male or female, but it'd be nice to have like gender neutral as well. I do like the two different ways of doing it. I just don't think it came across well in the writing itself. Oh, I'm at my friend's restaurant. Might have to sample all the beers on tap. Haha. Oh, it's a hard life. Hard life. Like, this one doesn't taste so good. Maybe I'll have another one. That's nice. Very good. And then we've got the bestiary. Oh, terrifying creatures here. Oh, absolutely tag yourself in this photo. Glossary of terms. Let's have a see. Hang on. Wait, it seems to be split here. Why is it split? Have they split it into... How weird. It's literally one page. And then it's split from like game terms to like job descriptions. Yeah, because I wanted to see, what does unblooded mean? It's not even on here. There's someone here to draw unblooded. Use a single suit without royalty. Oh, okay. Interesting. I didn't know what an unblooded was. So you take out all the face cards. Double, triple, and full unblooded means using additional suits. That would have been much more helpful earlier on. I would have absolutely got that wrong. Interesting. Okay. Well, there you go. That was a absolute whistle-stop tour of This Dee Sanction, and there's a character sheet at the back. Of course, is it an image? Yeah, it's an image. It's not even a form fillable thing. So, what do we think? Let's give a sort of an honest review. I'm going to skip back to the top. Ooh. Do you know what am I doing? Just okay. Right. I think the good points. I think there is something here. I will admit, I am not a massive fan of historical games and stuff like that because it's just something I've not played personally, and also it doesn't excite me. However, there's some interesting things here. I like the idea of like Tudor witchcraft and supernatural stuff. I think that's really interesting. I like the idea of like again, this idea of a secret society that's using people who are gifted in certain ways to use magic, but again, at the same time, you only know a little bit of it. You're just trying your best. I kind of enjoy that sort of thing as well. Again, lines and veils and all that sort of thing of like how much the roles of an agent you want to play. The bad things. Let's just get into it straight away. The layout is all over the place. A copy editor is absolutely necessary for this. I feel like it started really strong. I don't know about anyone else. I thought it started really strong, like what it is and like a little bit of like I think the context stuff, the historical stuff, I thought worked really well, and that's what got me interested. And then like I would have to rewrite all of this. So we're up to that's the whole bit they need to know, players. So about 15 pages or so. I'd have to rewrite all of that for players, just to like get it straight in my head, and to give it to them as well. I think you'd have to make a choice, and say and make it clear, like if you're doing it with dice, this is the rules for the dice. If you're doing it with cards, which is more interesting. I think that's more interesting and more accessible. You need to describe it fully, and it's so frustrating that it's not. Personally speaking, and it's just also like it had that weird thing of like talking about if you can't do it and having the negatives first rather than the positives with certain dice mechanics. You're like, tell us about the positives. That was a bit frustrating. I agreed with the comments of like it would be nice to have like a pronunciation guide as always with these things, or having that glossary, as we said, like either at the beginning or broken down by sections. Because even then, the glossary was only one page. I thought it was like loads of pages. The design of it obviously is very simplistic. And I get that. No alt text on any of the images. I actually find it, I find these hard to read anyway when it's 2 columns. But it's such a shame. Like, I feel like, again, it's a proper copy edit, having more play examples, certainly for the combat bit, because that combat bit was quick, right? And I was like, well, wait, what do you... and then just a little bit of restructuring and stuff, I think it would make it much more engaging for people. But it has done well. This is an award-winning game. It kind of frustrates me because I was like, wait, what does this mean? And then having to go back and go, oh, that's what it means. So that's a shame, I think. There's a little bit more thought in terms of the layout, I think, is needed. I think that the art's fine as well. Like, I understand it's trying to be in that era. Yeah, I think it needs more play example. Like, the tradecraft thing absolutely threw me. I even, maybe playing that quick start would be better. Like that one shot would be more interesting. Like I actually now quite interested. I'm like, ooh, exciting. I like how the character creation is. The character sheet is 1 page. I think that's interesting. The unraveling stuff is tricky. I like the idea of what it presented. That it wasn't necessarily madness mechanic, but it can easily get to that. I think that's the thing. It's just like a slippery slope. I like the concept of it. But equally, if it's just a role-play mechanic or maybe some disadvantage in your turn in combat, I think but it's like a one-off like fear check. It's completely optional in my book. I would just great idea. Reminds me of City of Mist. Great ideas, terrible layouts. Oh my goodness. So we did the City of Mist starter set way back when I started doing these things, Phoenix Femme. Oh, it's so bad. Like, again, I really enjoy like reading the game and stuff like that. I thought, it's really interesting. I have no idea how to play that game, which is such a shame. We did recently the Tinderbox demo for the Legends of Mist, and I think they fixed a couple of problems for it. But we'll see. But there you go. You know what? I'm glad we did this. I'm glad we went through it because, like, again, I have put this off doing this one before because, again, I was like, I don't know if I like this sort of thing. But you know what? It's always good to read RPGs of different genres that you may be not interested in playing or will ever run, and check them out. I'm actually quite keen to do something with this now. I think about it. Again, it's just something different that we don't necessarily see. So I do enjoy that. But yeah, I definitely would have to rewrite that whole middle bit. And I think I would make it clear from the players from the start that we're using cards. Because I think cards are more magical. If it's a game about supernatural stuff, tarot cards and playing cards, that feels more like tactile than just rolling a dice and leaving it up to chance per se. So I do like the option for that. But I wonder if people are like, I think you should just commit it to one, and why not the playing cards? Be different. And then you could always additional rules. You can do dice. I don't know. Just a thought. But there you go. Thank you so much. I know we've gone over time by about 10 minutes, but thank you so much for spending your Friday with me chatting rubbish about Tudor witchcraft. Let me go back to big Fiona face. Thank you so much. If you found this interesting, I always have to shill the wares before people. I go to the back of the room, like a halt, don't leave. Do check out What Am I Rolling, which is my other podcast, or one of my many projects I'm doing, which is a twice monthly tabletop RPG podcast where we do lots of different RPGs when I haven't moved countries, but we do lots of interviews with game designers as well, and talking about the information like I'm just fascinated with game design and fascinated with how we can tell stories. So if you're interested in anything like that, please go check that out. If you're like, Fiona, I only support one big RPG group, and that is Wizards of the Coast, and you're like, oh, fine. We also do the DM's Book Club, which is a weekly book club podcast where we talk about some Dungeons & Dragons and discuss how we might improve it and use the lore in all of our campaigns. Because ultimately, we know that D&D, it's its 50th year. It does quite a lot. It's impossible to ignore to an extent. But I'm very aware that maybe that is the first time people getting into RPGs. And we talk about a lot of other RPGs, I would say, on the DM's Book Club. But the lore is there, and it's like, ooh, what can we use and what can we create and inspire any stories from there? So go and check them out. I enjoyed it. Currently, we're doing the our travel book club where we're traveling through all the inner planes, which are planes I'd never had heard of, and it's just interesting that we can do an adventure in the plane of ooze, my favorite place. So go check that out if you would like to. We read the books, so you don't have to. Other than that, we've got some other of these Too Long Didn't Reads coming up, which I use this as a way just to settle myself and do some reading, so that's always important. What have we got next week on the docket, so to speak? Next week we have Our Last Best Hope, which will be exciting. What's all that one about? It's a tabletop role-playing game about a crew of people on a mission to save humanity from a terrible crisis. Looks like it's like a bit of a sci-fi one, which will be exciting. Yes, during the game, you and your friends will play a classic disaster movie like Sunshine or Deep Impact, The Core or Armageddon, where your characters are the stars. Each game is unique as your group confronts a new crisis with new sets of characters and a new plan to save the Earth. Nice. So we're going to do that next Tuesday, roughly 5 p.m. EST or 11 a.m. Central Time. Your time zones may vary. Then on Thursday, we're going to do The Play's the Thing, which got randomly rolled on my random RPG reader. So it's a storytelling game about actors who want to rewrite the Shakespearean roles they've been given. You and your friends tell the story of an acting troupe that's scheduled to perform a new play, but has had a lot of disagreements about how that play should go. Whilst the playwright might present you with a classic Shakespearean folio, you use your imaginations and wit to craft new events and excitement in old stories. I love stuff like that. I'm a big fan of stuff like I've talked about it before on this stream, like Lost in Austin or Ostentatious, which is improvised Jane Austen, and it's brilliant. I love stuff like that. So it's similar sort of vibes there, which I'm excited for. And then next Friday, so a week from today, we are going to look at Eat the Reich. We're going to look at the quick start for that, which I'm very excited for. A role-playing game in which you, a vampire commando, are coffin-dropped into occupied Paris and must cut a bloody swath through Nazi forces en route to your ultimate goal, drinking all of Adolf Hitler's blood. Because why not? Why not check out that? We checked out Hollows last Friday. I'm going to check out Eat the Reich this Friday. So we've got Nick this coming Friday. So we've got loads coming up. And as always, if people if there's a particular RPG you want me to cover, let me know in my little Discord that I have again for Where and DM's Book Club. We're a nice little group of people there. We just chitty chat about stuff. I post pictures of my books. And yeah, feel free to join that if you would like to. There is no pressure to. That is it. That is the end of today's session of Too Long Didn't Read. I've got to go put my clothes away. Basically, all my stuff arrived last week, and I've unpacked everything, which is great. But everything is everywhere, and now I've got to repack. So, thank you so much for joining us for this. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Enjoy the rest of your weekend if you're watching this live, or just the rest of your week in general. Play more games as always, and I will find the off-screen button. Okay, there it is. I'm going to wave, and I'll see you next week. Mwah!